Donna was born into a modest household in a quiet suburban town. From the outside, her family appeared ordinary. Her father worked at a factory, her mother was a homemaker, and she had a younger sister, Lily, who was 3 years her junior. But Donna had always been different. Even as a child, she was quiet, introspective, and strangely self-contained. Her teachers often commented on her intelligence and maturity, but they also noted her tendency to isolate herself. Unlike most children, who found joy in playful activities, Donna preferred solitude. While other kids played tag or rode bicycles, she spent her time reading books and watching television. It was during these formative years that she stumbled upon a crime documentary on TV. She was only 11 years old when she watched her first episode, a chilling story about a cold-blooded serial killer who evaded the police for decades. Most children would have been frightened, but Donna was fascinated. She didn't flinch at the graphic details or the interviews with grieving families. Instead, she watched with rapt attention, her mind absorbing every word, every image. Her fascination with crime stories only grew. By the time she was a teenager, her bedroom shelves were lined with books about true crime cases, forensic science, and criminal psychology. She consumed every documentary she could find, often staying up late into the night, her face illuminated by the glow of the television screen. Her parents noticed her unusual interests, but dismissed them as harmless quirks. After all, Donna was a good student who stayed out of trouble, but her obsession with crime wasn't harmless. It began to warp her sense of morality, blurring the lines between right and wrong. She became fixated on the idea of control, how criminals could manipulate their victims, outsmart the authorities, and dictate the course of their lives. She wasn't drawn to the victims. She was drawn to the perpetrators. She admired their cunning, their audacity, and their ability to defy societal norms. At 17, an incident occurred that would change Donna's life forever. One afternoon, as she was walking home from school, a stray dog attacked her, biting her leg and leaving her with a deep wound. She managed to fend off the animal and get medical attention, but the experience left her shaken. Her parents were supportive, urging her to focus on her recovery and forget about the incident. But Donna couldn't forget. She felt an intense anger toward the dog, an anger that consumed her. Late one night, driven by a need for revenge, Donna left her house and went back to the area where the dog usually roamed. She found it near a garbage dump, scavenging for food. Without hesitation, she approached it, pretending to be friendly. When the dog came closer, she struck it with a heavy object she had brought with her. The act was brutal and swift, and as the dog lay lifeless before her, Donna felt an overwhelming sense of power. For the first time, she had taken a life, and instead of guilt, she felt exhilaration. She disposed of the dog's body in the garbage dump and walked home, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. This incident marked a turning point in Donna's life. She realized that she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. The act of killing gave her a sense of control that she had never experienced before. It was no longer just about revenge. It was about power, and she wanted more. Her next victim was human. When her younger sister, Lily, confided in her about being harassed by a man at a local bar, Donna's protective instincts kicked in, but her sense of justice was far from conventional. She didn't report the man to the authorities or confront him publicly. Instead, she devised a plan. She spent days observing the man, learning his routines and habits. One night, she followed him as he left the bar and waited for the right moment. She approached him, pretending to be interested in him, and lured him into a secluded alley. As he leaned in to kiss her, she pulled out a knife she had hidden in her jacket and stabbed him. The act was quick and efficient, just as she had planned. She dragged his body to a nearby riverbank and disposed of it, making sure to erase any evidence that could link her to the crime. The murder gave Donna an even greater sense of power than the first. She felt invincible, untouchable. She had taken a life and gotten away with it. The experience emboldened her, and over the next few years, she continued to kill. Her victims were always men who had wronged her or others in some way. Harassers, abusers, and those who crossed her path in the wrong way. What made Donna particularly dangerous was her meticulous planning. She studied every detail of her crimes, ensuring that she left no traces behind. She avoided areas with CCTV cameras, wore gloves to prevent leaving fingerprints, and disposed of her weapons and other evidence carefully. But despite her caution, she had one weakness: her trophies. Donna kept a collection of knives, each one used in a different murder. She didn't clean them thoroughly. Instead, she left traces of blood on the blades as a reminder of her acts. She also wrote short notes on each knife, detailing the reason for the killing. It was a habit that satisfied her need for control and validation, but it was also a dangerous one. By the time Donna met Jake, she had killed at least 6 people, but none of this was apparent to him. To Jake, Donna was perfect. She was intelligent, beautiful, and caring, a woman who seemed to have her life together. He was a soldier, disciplined and honorable, and he fell for her quickly. Donna, for her part, saw Jake as a way to prove to herself that she could lead a normal life. They married within a year of meeting, and for the first 2 years of their marriage, Donna was the picture of a perfect wife. She supported Jake in his demanding career, maintained their home impeccably, and treated him with kindness and love. But the darkness within her never truly disappeared. When Jake was away on deployments, Donna's old habits resurfaced. She found excuses to leave the house late at night, and her victims were always men who she believed deserved punishment. She kept her trophies hidden in a box at her mother's house, convinced that no one would ever find them. Donna's ability to compartmentalize her life was extraordinary. She could commit horrific acts and then return home to play the role of a loving wife without missing a beat. Jake never suspected a thing. To him, Donna was the anchor that kept him grounded in the chaos of his military life. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves, no matter how deeply they're buried. And Donna's carefully constructed facade was about to crumble. Jake had always admired Donna's sense of independence and composure. As a soldier, he had seen the world's chaos and appreciated the calmness that Donna seemed to bring into his life. But as their second anniversary approached, Jake began to notice subtle inconsistencies in her behavior. At first, it was small things. Her habit of locking certain drawers and cabinets, her occasional late-night outings that she dismissed as errands, and her unwillingness to talk about her past. Donna was always quick with explanations, her voice calm and reassuring. But there was something in her eyes, a flicker of tension that Jake couldn't shake. One night, Jake came home from base earlier than expected. He found Donna in their bedroom, hurriedly closing a box and sliding it into the back of their closet. When he asked her about it, she brushed him off with a smile, saying it was an old box of childhood memories. But Jake couldn't ignore the way her hands trembled slightly or how she quickly changed the subject. As weeks passed, Jake became increasingly uneasy. He started paying closer attention to Donna's actions. He noticed how she was meticulous about certain things, like always wiping down her shoes when she returned home, or her habit of checking her surroundings when she left the house. These were behaviors he had seen in his line of work, signs of someone who was hiding something. Jake's suspicions grew when Donna's mother casually mentioned a hobby that Donna had as a teenager. She laughed it off, saying that Donna had always been fascinated by crime stories and documentaries, but to Jake, it felt like a piece of a puzzle falling into place. He began to wonder if Donna's fascination with crime was more than just an innocent interest. One evening, while Jake was on duty, he decided to visit Donna's childhood home. He told her he was working late, but made his way to her mother's house instead. Her mother was warm and welcoming, thrilled to see Jake. But as they talked, Jake couldn't help but steer the conversation toward Donna's past. She was always a bit secretive, her mother admitted. Even as a child, she liked to keep things to herself. But she was a good girl, always helping around the house. Jake pressed further, asking if Donna had ever been involved in anything unusual. Her mother hesitated before mentioning an incident where Donna had been bitten by a dog and seemed unusually upset about it. She wasn't herself for weeks, her mother said, and then one day, she was fine again. It was strange, but I thought she'd just moved on. After some more conversation, Jake excused himself and asked if he could use the bathroom. Instead, he made his way to Donna's old bedroom. The room had been turned into a storage space, but it still held traces of Donna's past. Posters of crime shows on the walls, shelves filled with books about criminal psychology, and a desk covered in old notebooks. Jake's heart pounded as he searched the room. He didn't know what he was looking for, but he felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Then in the back of the closet, he found it, a small locked box hidden beneath a pile of old clothes. The lock was easy to pick, a skill Jake had learned during his time in the military. Inside the box, he found a collection of knives, each with dried blood stains on the blades. His stomach turned as he realized that these weren't just ordinary knives. They were trophies. Each blade had a small tag attached to it, with a name and a brief description of why the person had been killed. Jake's hand shook as he read the tags, marked, "Harassed Lily," "Paul, followed me home," "Greg, cat called me." Each one told a story of vengeance, and each one confirmed his worst fears. Donna was a killer. Jake closed the box and took it with him, his mind racing. Back at home, he hid the box in a secure place and tried to process what he had discovered. The woman he loved, the woman he had married, was not who he thought she was for days. Jake struggled with what to do. He didn't want to believe that Donna was capable of such horrific acts, but the evidence was undeniable. He decided to confront her, hoping that there might be some explanation, some way to make sense of it all. One evening, after dinner, Jake sat Donna down and told her he needed to talk. His voice was calm, but his heart was pounding. He told her he had visited her mother and found the box in her old room. Donna's face froze for a moment. She said nothing, her expression unreadable. Then she laughed a soft, almost nervous laugh and said, "Jake, that's ridiculous. I've never hurt anyone in my life. You know me." But Jake could see through her act. "Donna, don't lie to me," he said firmly. "I found the knives. I read the tags. I know what you've done." For a moment, the room was silent. Then Donna's expression changed. The warmth and softness that Jake had always associated with her vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. "You shouldn't have done that, Jake," she said, her voice low and steady. "I changed for you. I wanted to leave that life behind and be someone you could love. But you had to dig, didn't you? You couldn't leave it alone." Jake stared at her, his mind reeling. "Donna, you need help," he said. "I can't let this go. I have to turn you in. It's the right thing to do." Donna's eyes narrowed. "If you think I'm going to let you ruin everything, you're wrong," she said. "I've worked too hard to keep this hidden, and if you think I won't kill you to protect myself, you don't know me at all." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had seen many things in his life as a soldier, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. As Donna moved toward the kitchen, Jake knew he had to act quickly. He grabbed his phone and dialed 911, telling the operator to send the police immediately. Donna returned, holding a knife, her eyes filled with a mixture of rage and desperation. "You shouldn't have done that, Jake," she said. "Now you've left me no choice." Donna stood in the living room, her breathing heavy, the knife gripped tightly in her hand. The woman Jake had married was gone, replaced by a cold-blooded killer who was willing to do whatever it took to protect her dark secrets. Jake, a seasoned soldier, was trained for moments of crisis, but this was different. This wasn't an enemy on a battlefield. It was his wife, the woman he had loved, the person he had built a life with. "Donna, think about what you're doing," Jake said, his voice calm but firm. He kept his eyes locked on hers, carefully observing every movement. "This isn't you. You don't have to do this." Donna let out a bitter laugh. "You don't get it, do you? This is me, Jake. This has always been me. I tried to change for you, but you had to go digging. You just couldn't leave it alone." Jake slowly began to move, trying to position himself closer to the front door. His military instincts kicked in, analyzing escape routes and potential strategies. But Donna was no fool. She mirrored his movements, keeping the knife between them. "You're not leaving this house," Donna said, her voice icy. "You ruined everything. I won't let you destroy my life." The tension in the room was suffocating. Jake knew he needed to buy time for the police to arrive, but he also knew that Donna was unpredictable. She wasn't acting out of rage alone. There was a calculated coldness in her eyes, a determination that made her even more dangerous. "Donna, we can fix this," Jake said, his tone softening. "You need help, and I'll be there for you. But this isn't the way." For a moment, it seemed like his words might have reached her. Donna's grip on the knife loosened slightly, and her expression wavered. But then, as if shaking off a moment of weakness, she tightened her hold and stepped closer. "I don't need help," she hissed. "I've done fine on my own. You're the one who doesn't belong here anymore." Suddenly, Donna lunged at Jake, the knife aimed directly at his chest. Jake reacted instinctively, sidestepping her attack and grabbing her wrist. The two of them struggled, their bodies colliding as they fought for control of the weapon. Jake's military training gave him an advantage, but Donna's determination made her a formidable opponent. The knife clattered to the floor, and Jake managed to shove Donna away. He quickly picked up the weapon and threw it across the room, out of her reach. But Donna wasn't done. She grabbed a heavy glass vase from a nearby table and swung it at Jake, narrowly missing his head. "Stop, Donna," Jake shouted, his voice echoing through the house. "This isn't going to end well for you." But Donna was beyond reason. Her face was a mask of fury and desperation as she grabbed a second knife from the kitchen. Jake realized she had prepared for this, hiding weapons throughout the house in case she ever needed them. The fight continued, each moment more intense than the last. Jake managed to wrestle the second knife away from Donna, but not before she slashed his arm. Blood seeped through his shirt, but he ignored the pain, focusing on subduing her. "You're going to regret this," Donna spat, her voice venomous. "You should have just let me be." Jake, breathing heavily, finally managed to pin Donna to the ground. "It's over, Donna," he said, his voice firm. "The police are on their way. You can't run from this anymore." But Donna wasn't done fighting. She twisted beneath him, grabbing a shard of broken glass from the floor and stabbing him in the side. Jake cried out in pain, his grip loosening just enough for Donna to push him off. As Jake struggled to stay upright, Donna stood over him, the shard of glass glinting in her hand. "You should have just stayed out of it," she said, her voice cold and emotionless. Then, with brutal efficiency, she stabbed him again and again, her rage consuming her. Jake's body went limp, his strength finally giving out. Donna stood over him, her chest heaving as she stared at his lifeless form. Blood pooled around her feet, staining the carpet. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the sound of sirens in the distance broke through the stillness. Donna's eyes darted toward the window, realizing that the police were almost there. She quickly grabbed a bag she had packed earlier, filled with cash, a fake ID, and other essentials. She knew she couldn't stay. Jake had called the cops, and they would find everything. Donna fled the house, slipping out the back door just as the police arrived. She ran through the neighborhood, her mind racing as she planned her next move. She needed to get out of town, out of the country, before the authorities could catch her. But Donna's luck was running out. The police quickly pieced together what had happened, discovering the box of knives and Jake's bloody body. They issued a nationwide alert, and within hours, Donna's face was plastered across news stations and social media. At the airport, Donna tried to keep her composure as she approached the ticket counter. She handed over her fake ID and purchased a one-way ticket to a country with no extradition treaty. But as she made her way to the gate, she noticed several uniformed officers patrolling the area. Her heart raced as she tried to blend in, but it was too late. One of the officers spotted her and called for backup. Donna broke into a run, but she didn't get far. Within moments, she was tackled to the ground and handcuffed. At the police station, Donna refused to speak, but the evidence against her was overwhelming. The knives, the blood stains, the handwritten notes detailing her kills. It was all there. During her trial, Donna finally broke her silence. She confessed to everything, describing in chilling detail how she had planned and carried out each murder. She showed no remorse, insisting that her victims had deserved what they got. The trial of Donna Miller, Jake's wife, and a confessed serial killer, captivated the nation. The courtroom was filled to capacity with reporters, spectators, and grieving family members. It was a case that seemed ripped straight from the pages of a thriller novel. A seemingly perfect wife with a chilling double life, a military hero betrayed and murdered, and a trail of victims left in the wake of Donna's rage-fueled vendettas. Donna entered the courtroom wearing a prison jumpsuit, her once meticulous appearance now disheveled. Despite the gravity of the situation, she walked with an unsettling confidence, her expression devoid of remorse. As the prosecution presented its opening arguments, they painted a vivid picture of a woman who had lived a life of deceit and violence. The evidence against Donna was overwhelming. The infamous box of knives was displayed prominently, each blade still marked with the blood of her victims and engraved with chilling messages about their supposed crimes. The prosecutor methodically went through each case, describing the victims, the circumstances of their deaths, and the evidence linking Donna to the murders. For years, Donna Miller lived a life of pretense, the prosecutor said, addressing the jury. She was a wife, a neighbor, and a friend. But behind closed doors, she was a predator. She took lives without hesitation, all while carefully concealing her crimes. When her husband, a hero who served his country, discovered the truth, she silenced him in the most brutal way possible. This is not a crime of passion. This is cold-blooded murder. The prosecution called several witnesses to testify, including forensic experts, detectives, and even Donna's own family members. Her mother, visibly shaken, described how Donna had always been secretive, even as a child. She was different, her mother admitted fearfully. I knew she struggled with anger, but I never imagined it would lead to this. When it was the defense's turn, Donna's attorney tried to paint her as a victim of circumstance. They argued that her traumatic experiences, such as the harassment of her sister and the attack by the dog, had triggered a psychological break. They claimed she acted out of a misguided sense of justice and had never intended to harm Jake. But Donna's own behavior on the stand undermined her defense. When questioned about the murders, she described them in chilling detail, her voice emotionless and her words disturbingly precise. I don't regret what I did, she said, her tone matter-of-fact. They deserved it, every single one of them. Jake, he betrayed me. He was supposed to love me, but instead, he turned me in. He had to pay for that. The jury was visibly shaken by her testimony. Donna's lack of remorse, coupled with her cold, calculated descriptions of her crimes, painted a picture of a deeply disturbed individual. After weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for just a few hours before reaching a unanimous verdict. Donna was found guilty on all counts, including 6 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of second-degree murder for Jake's death. When the judge read the sentence, life in prison without the possibility of parole, Donna showed no reaction. She simply stared straight ahead, her expression blank. But as she was led out of the courtroom, she turned to Jake's family, her lips curling into a faint smile. "You should have kept him out of it," she said coldly, her voice carrying through the silent courtroom. The aftermath of the trial left a deep impact on everyone involved. Jake's fellow soldiers held a memorial service to honor his life and service, remembering him as a man of integrity and courage. His family struggled to cope with the loss, grappling with the knowledge that the woman they had welcomed into their lives had betrayed and killed him. The media frenzy surrounding the case didn't let up. True crime documentaries and books delved into Donna's life, trying to understand what had driven her to commit such heinous acts. Psychologists and criminologists debated the effects of her childhood, her obsession with crime shows, and her calculated methods. For Donna, life in prison became her new reality. She was kept in solitary confinement for her own safety, as other inmates viewed her with a mix of fear and contempt. She spent her days in silence, occasionally scribbling in a notebook that guards suspected contained more of her chilling thoughts. But even behind bars, Donna remained a figure of fascination. She gave one televised interview, during which she reiterated her lack of remorse. "I did what needed to be done," she said with a shrug. "If that makes me a monster, so be it." The story of Donna and Jake Miller became a cautionary tale, a grim reminder of how appearances can be deceiving. Jake's legacy as a dedicated soldier and loving husband was overshadowed by the shocking betrayal that ended his life. For Donna, her name became synonymous with cold-blooded murder. Her story a case study in how unchecked anger and a thirst for control can lead to unimaginable destruction. In the end, there were no winners, only broken families, lost lives, and unanswered questions about how someone like Donna could have hidden her true nature for so long. But for those who knew Jake, one truth remained. He had died trying to do the right thing, and his bravery ensured that Donna's reign of terror had come to an end